morning. Thank you. Welcome to Shen Time. We're up to Perek Yud Beis. We just finished how Shlomo Melech was nifted and how his son Rechavam was going to be crowned as king. The pasuk says, "Vayelech Rechavam Shechem ki Shechem ba kol Yisrael laham lechoisor." So Rechavam went to Shechem. Now, why did Rechavam go to Shechem? Rechavam should have went, should have been in Yerushalayim. The answer was that the last Perek there was Yiravam ben Nevat had a prophecy from Achia Shaloni that he's going to take over 10 of the tribes, and he understood that there's no way he's going to be able to take over if Rechavam was going to be crowned in Yerushalayim. So they made like a middle ground. They made like a place in the middle where Rechavam was going to come to Shechem. Shechem was somewhere in the middle. It was also a respected city, and over there they would meet. The two oppositions would meet, and over there they would come to a consensus of who's going to rule. So Vayelech Rechavam Shechem ki Shechem bo kol Yisrael laham lechoisor. Vahi kishmoya Yiravam ben Nevat. So Yiravam ben Nevat hears that Rechavam, who's Shlomo Melech's son, heir to the throne, he's in Shechem, and Yiravam ben Nevat ran away to Mitzrayim. We spoke about it, that it was very ironic that Yiravam ben Nevat was in Mitzrayim because Shlomo Melech made an alliance he married Bas Paroi in order to be in good terms with Mitzrayim. At the end of the game, Mitzrayim was the one who harbored both Hadad, who was one of his oppositions, and Yiravam ben Nevat ran away to Mitzrayim. So his plan, which was to beat the system by marrying Bas Paroi, which in the Torah it says he shouldn't marry Les Schattenbaum, ended up working against him, that it was Mitzrayim that harbored him. Anyway, he returns back, so Yiravam was very shrewd politically, and he tells Rechavam, "Ovicho hikshu asuleinu, ve'ato ato hokel ma'avoidus ovicho akosho u'meulo yakoved ashenosno leinu v'navdecha." He says, your father made it extremely difficult on us. At the end of Shlomo Melech's reign, Shlomo Melech was getting tough on the people, and he was taxing them. And this was all part of when Shlomo Melech, in the beginning of his reign, when he built the Beis Hamikdash, so then there was no taxes that were collected, and there was Suda Shloimo B'Shato, there was a tremendous abundance. At the end of his reign already, it says that silver started to go up. In the beginning of his reign, silver was valueless because there was so much gold. At the end, silver started to go up already, and he started to work the people. And now the people were coming with a complaint to the new king, and they were saying, your father worked us to the bone, he was extremely tough with us. Now, if you're going to make life easier for us, then we're going to serve you. Why did Yiravam say this? Because he knew that the only chance that he's going to have in order to take over is only if the new king is going to mess up, and then there's going to be a makom. There's going to be reason for the people to want to join a new kingdom. So here was the first mistake that the Rebbe made. He said, "Go for 3 days and come back to me in 3 days." Now, if he would have said right away, and if he would have taken charge, then he would have had the kingdom. But because he gave them 3 days, what happens in the 3 days where everybody goes to discuss it? The opposition starts brewing, and everybody starts saying, "We didn't like this, and we didn't like that." And it's the worst thing to give time to the opposition. Now, during those 3 days, Vayivoat HaMelech Rechavam es Haskenem asher hayu oimden es pnei Shlomo Avicha Ovev B'yosechai Leimo Eichatem no Yatzim L'Hoshev Esu Oma Zeh Davar. He goes to the elders, they were the advisors from Shlomo Melech, and he asks them, how would you advise me to answer the people? So the fact that he's going to ask Shlomo Melech's advisors, what should we do? It's a beautiful thing. He's asking the elders, the Zkenim, and they actually told him something wise. They told him something that made sense. Vayidabru Elav Leimo. So the elders, Shlomo Melech's elders, now you have to understand, if Shlomo Melech took them as advisors, they were probably pretty wise. Shlomo Melech was the Chacham in Kol Adam, had advisors, probably his advisors had good advice. So they said, they said, look, give in to the people. Tell the people, yes, I'm going to serve you. It's like a politician, what you said right now has actually no bearings on what's going to happen in the future. Tell the people that yes, you're going to make life easier for them because you need to buy them now. We'll figure out later how we're going to deal with it. And they're going to be v'hoy lecha avodim kol hayamim. You have to know how to give some in order to take. Vayazer v'satzas kenan. But Rechavam dropped the advice from the Zakenim asher yoatzu vayivoat as hayeladim asher God lu'itoy amdim lefanov. And he consulted the boys that grew up with him. He went to his buddies who grew up with him, and he asked them. So the first mistake that he made, the first mistake is that he gave them 3 days. Second mistake that he made is that if you ask advice from somebody, don't go advice hopping. Big club. If you have a Rebbe, you have a mentor. It says, if you have the Rav, you have yourself a Rav, and you ask him for advice, listen. Don't go Rebbe hopping. Don't go advisor hopping. Because at the end of the game, if you're going to ask advice from two, meaning you're going to choose now which one is right, so you're the Rebbe. You're the one who's choosing between the advice. If you're going to listen, if you're asking somebody, so his buddies told him, he asked them, what do you say? What do you say? What should we answer the people who said, lighten the burden that was put on us? So the pasuk is saying again, these were your love them, these were the boys who grew up with him. These were people who were in the same mindset of him. You have to understand that Chavim at the end of the game was born, he was the crown prince, probably a little spoiled. He grew up with all his buddies who were spoiled like him. And he asked them, what do you say? This is what you should say. Katoni Ovi means my little finger is thicker than my father's thigh. Get up, get up. Katoni Ovi. My little finger is thicker than my father's mosnaim. Va'ata Ovi hemes alechem oil koved. You think my father made a heavy yoke on you? Vani oisef al ulchem. I'm going to add more burden to you. I'm going to add more responsibility to you. Vani oisef al ulchem Ovi. Yisad eschem bashoyte, my father, he beat you or he chastised you with rods. I'm going to chastise you with spurs. That means you can whip somebody and then you could use barbs that have little points. I'm going to make life much tougher. Coming like a tough man. Now the mistake over here was, it's not that responsibility is a bad thing, it's a very good thing, but you have to know how to play the game. You can't come in when you're a new kid on the block. You have to understand, who was your father? Your father was Shlomo Melech, who delivered world peace, tremendous abundance. So when he came down tough, people had to just, deal with it because the guy delivered everything and he had total control. You're new on the block, you're trying to win over the people and you're coming in right away and you're saying, hey. Just remember the story that Gadol Eisner, the great Ger Mashpia, Gadol, the Sefer of Gadol, one of the Svarim that every Jew has to read. It's an amazing, amazing book. So one of the stories in the Gadol that before the war, there was a cheder who was called Nachs HaTorah, and it was made, I think, Noam HaTorah. Either Noam HaTorah, I think Noam HaTorah. Before the war, they made a cheder for more modern kids in Lodge. And there was a class there that they couldn't control. This cheder, before the war, couldn't control these kids. They were totally... No Rebbe who came in was able to take control over them. So Rebbe Gadol came in. And Rebbe Gadol was a Chanyak. He was a Chassidish Yid, a Kotzker. He dreid sich by Kotzker Chassidim. But then on felt to the Shtiva, he came into a class of more modern kids. And all he did was he came inside and he started schmoozing with them. And he spoke shtissim mit Lakshan with them. He spoke all different types and he played chess with them and whatever. It was just first day entire day. Came in the second day on Monday. From morning till night they were schmoozing and chilling and fabrein. Came in Tuesday. From morning to night. Schmoozing, chilling, fabrein. And this went on an entire week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 20 minutes before Friday, before they were supposed to end, he looks at his watch and he says, oh my gosh, we didn't learn anything this week. The manal is going to come in, he's going to ask me, like what we did this week, he's going to fire me. Do me a favor, let's spend 20 minutes. Everybody came out. For 20 minutes. For 20 minutes they learned, they were totally focused. He built up this class. All of them, they were tremendous, tremendous Jews. Whoever survived from that oilam was great Chassidic masters came out of this, from this crew of boys. He knew the art. He knew that when you need to win the people, there's one way how you play. Eventually he took control and he disciplined them and he built them up. They should be people, but first you need the people to buy in. If you're not going to have them buy in, then what are you going to discipline? The Chavam didn't know that art. His kids, his buddies told him, come on, come down like a tough guy. After 3 days of complaining and talking between themselves how bad everything was and regurgitating everything that went wrong, they come back. He left the advice of the Zakanim. That's what Chazal say, that steer is Zakanim binyan. Right? Chazal say that sometimes Zakanim, they tell you to destroy something, to throw something down, because that's really the secret of the binyan. But the binyan na'arim, but the building of na'arim is stira. Sometimes you have to know that you have to throw down discipline, you have to throw down structure in order to be able to build it back much better, much stronger. But if you don't know the art, then you think that if you're going to come down even tougher, then you're going to win. He said, I'm going to beat you with barbs. So here the pasuk says something very interesting. Why didn't he listen to the people? Hashem had a reason. There was a prophecy from Achi Hashalom. He told Yerem Menavot that he's going to actually take over 10 of the kingdoms, 10 of the Shvatim. And this is how it came out. So many times, if God says something is going to be, you'll think stupid, or you'll take the wrong advice, and that's exactly how it played out. And the people see that the king is not listening to them. And what did the people say? What we would say. They said, we have no part with David, we have no chelik with Ben Yishai. Yisrael, everybody go home. You go look after your own house. Go you take care of yourself. They told him, you take care of your house, and everybody went home and abandoned the Malchus Beis David. So all the Bnei Yisrael who were living in the cities of Yehuda, they anointed Yeravam. I'm sorry. Bnei Yisrael, the ones who were sitting in Bnei Yehuda, which was David HaMelech, V'yim Lechalem Rechavam. That's where Rechavam was ruling. V'yish HaMelech Rechavam, Es Adoira Masher Al Amas. So here he makes the second, makes the next mistake. He sends a tax collector. He's going to follow through on his word. Now he's going to get tough. Yirgemu Kol Yisrael By Evan. So all of the Yisrael stoned him. Vayamos. They stoned the tax collector to death. HaMelech Rechavam Es Am Yisrael is B'merkava Lonos Yishlayim. So he gathered up his strength and he got into his chariot and he ran back to Yerushalayim. Tried to implement that he was going to send his tax collector out to all of Klal Yisrael and he's going to collect. They stoned his tax collector. He saw that Setzur Yabar, he got himself back to his hometown. So they rebelled against the house David, which means until Adayim Hazeh, Chazal say till the Yom Hazeh is when Mashiach is going to come. That's going to be that Yom. When it's going to be restored until the Beis David. So when all the people heard that Yeravam returned, so when they heard when Yeravam returned and he was the opposition, so they took Yeravam and all that remained for Beis David was Shevet Yehuda, which includes also Ephraim. Vayavo Rechavam Yerushalayim Vayakeres Kol Beis Yehuda Veshevet Binyamin. Sorry, not Ephraim. I'm sorry. Yehuda and Binyamin. That's what remained under Rechavam's rule. 180,000 Bochel Oisem Muhammad, Melachim in Beis Yisrael, the Hashem is a Meluchel Rechavam and Shloim. So what do you do now when there's a split? Now you start a war. Now you gather your troops, and he gathers there 180,000 troops. And here's a very fascinating turn in a person's car. A lot of times a person's going down a trajectory and he's like going to fight, and it's like, okay, I said I'm going to do something a certain way, and now I'm going to double down, I'm going to fight till the end. Hashem, even though Chavim screws up and he messes up, he sends him a Novi, Shmaya, and he tells Shmaya to tell him, Emer el Rechavim ben Shloim Melech Yehuda ve'el kol beis Yehuda ben Yama ve'yeser am le'emod. Tell Rechavim ben Shloim, the king of Yehuda, Koi Omer Hashem, Lo yisalu v'lo yisilochamu nemachechem b'nei Yisrael. Don't start a civil war. Shuvu ish lebeisoi, everyone return home. I'm the one who orchestrated this entire turn of events, including the advice that you took from the Na'adim. I'm the one who was behind it. This is a tremendous limit. The Navi came to the Chavim and he said, you think you messed up now, or you think you have to double down. I want to tell you a secret. It had nothing to do with you. Your bad decision that you made, it wasn't your bad decision. I'm behind that bad decision that you made because I needed it to be that way. Therefore, return back home. Vayishmu es Devar Hashem. He listened to the Devar Hashem. Vayashuvu leleches kedvar Hashem. And they returned. There's an amazing story in this. An amazing limit of somebody who was going down the trajectory of going down a black hole. That now he asked the wrong people, and they took away from him. His tax collector was stoned. He has 180,000 troops, and he's going to double down, and he's going to fight until the bitter end. And the Navi said, Achi, I have a message to you from Hashem. You know why you want to double down and fight? Because you think it was your decision. And now you have to protect it, and you have to back it up. It wasn't. It wasn't. And now the message from Hashem is, this is the way it was meant to be, accepted. And he did. One of the biggest limudim from Rechavam, if there was any time a message from Rechavam, this is the moment where Rechavam shines. Where he said, okay Hashem, the way it is the way it was meant to be. And if it was meant to be that way, I'm going to listen to you to back off and just accept that the two patch that I just got was meant to be that way. And now we shift over the story to Yeravam. So now Yeravam was the big macho. You have to understand, how did Yeravam come to power? Because he gave Musa to Shlomo HaMelech. He gave Musa, the Chazal say, because he woke up late, by the Chinuk Sabayas. Or, like the Pasuk says in Fetish, that he built a Milui, and he closed up all of the mifrats, he closed up all of the openings in the wall. And Yeravam ben Nevat gave him Musa, and Hashem said, hey, if he's able to stand up to the king, he's somebody who has the leadership power. So Yeravam goes, and he builds up Shechem, and he builds up Penuyah, now here comes the juicy part of the story of the side. I have a big problem. It's going to come the time to be Early Dagel. Where's everybody going to come be Early Dagel? To Yerushalayim. Where's Yerushalayim? In the Rechavam's territory. Even though he's controlling 10 Shvatim, it's going to go back to the other side. Everyone's going to come to Yerushalayim. And you know what's going to happen when I go to Yerushalayim? There's one Beis HaMikdash. There's Hakel. This week was the Parsha of Hakel. The king is going to read the Torah. What's going to happen when the king reads the Torah? Everybody's going to stand. Wer geht machen Kiddush? Im Yalla Amazel lassen sie wachen im Beis Hashem Yerushalayim Shov Lev Amazel Beinehem El Rechavam Melech Yehuda V'Haraguni V'Shov Rechavam Melech Yehuda. So even though Hashem promised him that he's going to take over, in his mind he started trying to help out God, and he said, hey, God's going to have a big issue over here, and it's not going to work. I can't go there to the Beis Hamikdash and stand there on the side when the Chavam is going to be the one who's going to read the Torah, and everybody's going to stand, and he's going to be first, and I'm going to be second. Big problem. We can't let them go to that. We can't let this Chassidus go to that Chassidus. Two brothers, not going to work. Not two brothers, but you get the concept. Whenever people say that, why are people fighting today? You have to understand that they were fighting about the same things already. They were fighting the same things already in the times of... And the Navi describes the exact same fight. So what do you do now? What do you do once you have this problem that you can't have the king of the 10 Shvatim should go to Yerushalayim and stand and sit while the king is going to stand and he's going to read the Torah and he's not going to be the one and everyone's going to say it's not going to work. So what did he do? He makes 2 eglei zahav. Two calves, golden calves. He said, it's too much for you to go up to Yerushalayim. He told all the people, it's too difficult for you to go up. It has nothing to do with me, Chaz v'Shalom. It has to do with you. You know, I'm here for the people. It's too hard. You know, it's a long distance, a long way. Shalom. וילך העם לפני האחד אדון ויעש בייס בומוס ויעש יעני מקצועס העם אשר להויו מבני לוי. Now, so you know, if you look in the Mefarshim over here, you have to understand, Yeravim is a big tzaddik. Obviously, if he was chosen to be able to be a king, and Achia Shalani came to him, he was the Moedika. So, like, what was his rationale? He had Moedika rationale. His concepts were that, first of all, Shlomo Melech made inside of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he made 2 new kruvim. And he made these kruvim, the kruvim he made on top, the huge ones. So, you know, if you said if Shlomo Melech was able to make his own kruvim because it's representing that Hashem is, he made these 2 eglei zahav, you know, to bring how Hashem is all over. He said, well, Hashem is only the Beis Hamikdash. Hashem's all over. Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is really everywhere. It's like people say, like, what do you mean I'm going to go to the Rebbe? Who needs a Rebbe? You don't need a Chaz v'Shalom. You're not an intermediary to God. Like Kodesh said, Kol Kal Kadoshim. What? Kulam Kadoshim. The whole world is Hashem. You have to go to Yerushalayim, Dafka to this base Hashem. What do you mean? This little box, Hashem, you're putting God into a box. God is not everywhere. God is over here. We can make some temples for Hashem also. So subconsciously his cheshbon is that he doesn't want to stand. He doesn't want to sit when the other king, he doesn't want to be there when the other king is making Kiddush first. He has a big problem. He has all these cheshbonos. That's how the story goes down. That's how it began, and then he made Yom Tov on the 8th month. Basically, he made a new religion. He changed the date. Basically, he said, if Hashem is here and Hashem is there, and Hashem is really everywhere, so then Hashem is in the... I mean, Sukkot has to be, you know, Dafka on this time, and it has to be Dafka Azoy. The Havdalah, the Christians also began with this same... You know, a lot of new religions begin with this concept. It starts with a very pure Hasidic concept. You know, it starts with a place of altruistic connection. A place of saying, it's like Yeravim came and he said, you made life too difficult for us. So he was actually going further, he was furthering his agenda. That means his campaign trail was, stop the pressure now. That's what Shlomo Melech made pressure. Stop the pressure now. So part of stopping the pressure now was God is everywhere, peace and love. It's okay. You don't have to there. You could find Hashem everywhere. You don't have to go up over there. Vayasi Ram Chag b'Chodesh Hashmini b'Chimish Asa Yom Chag Shachar Hashem Yuda v'Yal Al Mizbeach Kin Asa Beis El Zavayach LaGolav Shrama v'Hamed b'Beis El As Kehani Abom B'Sasher Asa. He made himself new priest. V'Yal Al Mizbeach Asher Asa Beis El b'Chimish Asa Yom Chag Hashmini b'Chodesh Asher Bodo Meliboy. This is where the Lashon Asher Bodo Meliboy that he thought up out of his own heart. Bodo Meliboy. Vayas Chag l'Bnei Yisrael, Vayal Mizbeach Lahakti. He made a festival, and he brought up the Mizbeach, and that's how he ended up making 10 times worth what he gave Musa for Shlomo Melech. That he's doing things with his own agenda, but when it hit his agenda of him being king, he dismantled everything that worked, and he totally took away all the discipline and all the structure. And that was the beginning of the end.